The stage is set.
And the stakes are still unprecedented.
This is Vibes Only, a podcast that checks the vibes of American politics each and every week. And the vibes this week.
The breaking news is big. Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptive Democratic nominee now for President of the United States, has selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be her running mate. MJ just saying maybe Walz, a vibes pick.
We'll discuss Harris's choice for a running mate, what might have gone into the decision, and what we know about Governor Walz. And
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black.
We'll talk about those unhinged vibes along with some news out of the Trump-Musk alliance.
Finally, we'll discuss some more undisclosed private jet trips gifted to Clarence and Ginny before pulling up our group, playing an It's Giving, and leaving you with a good vibe. Let's get into it.
Brian!
Gladys!
Can I just tell you, I just keyed into my apartment, ran into my neighbor. He looks at me, he goes, "Is it going to be Walz? Is it going to be Walz? I need it to be Walz." I sit down, ass in chair. What is it?
Drum roll, please. It's Tim Walz. Wow. Literally hot off the presses moments ago, the announcement has come in. Harris Walz 2024.
How do you feel?
I feel excited. I'm pumped. I mean, we can get into the intricacies, but I think that this is definitely the vibes choice.
Totally.
The vibes and the internet are very Team Walz.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just going to keep the good times rolling.
Totally. My neighbor said to me, I feel it would just be too good and the Democrats won't give that to us. And I said, you know what? Only time will tell. Let's see. Luckily for my neighbor, he's going to have a great day because less than 10 minutes later, he found out that his dream was coming true.
For sure. My newsfeed is already instantly overtaken with celebratory posts, which is exciting to see.
Let's get into it. Why are people celebrating? Who is Tim Walz?
Great question. Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota, a military veteran, a former public school teacher.
We love it.
And a cable news warrior.
Truly.
As we've recently come to learn, perhaps a comms pro who has actually a really long list of accomplishments in the state of Minnesota. He was also in Congress. He's done a lot of stuff. That's what we're learning.
I did not realize he was in Congress.
He was in Congress as well.
Okay.
He represented like a pretty purple red tinted area. And so he knows how to run in like tough battleground states and districts. He knows how to message to voters that are in the middle. And he also has this long list of accomplishments that have like really gotten him a lot of street cred with progressives and people who identify further to the left, which we like have to get into because that's what caught my attention immediately.
Yeah. Let's start with that. So as governor of Minnesota, he has done a lot of things. I'm going to kind of list some of them really quickly for everyone. He has ensured tuition-free meals at participating state universities, which is huge. He's enshrined abortion rights into state law. He's banned conversion therapy. He has provided protections for gender-affirming healthcare. And last May, he signed a bill that expanded voting rights in Minnesota for an estimated 55,000 formerly incarcerated residents.
Period.
There's more. He has strong labor protections. He has legalized the marijuana, cannabis, and he has expanded paid leave and sick leave, which is huge for working families.
Yeah. And let's be clear, like all of that was in just his last term as governor in a very short amount of time, got a tremendous amount of things done. And Minnesota doesn't like catch the headlines all that often. So people might think of it as being a really blue state, but it's actually quite purple. We just flipped the state Senate from a Republican controlled to Democratic controlled in 2022 for the first time in a long time. And so like you actually have to be able to work with people across party lines in order to get stuff done. And also to be able to message to those same voters in order to win. And those are all things that he's bringing now to the ticket in like such a critical moment.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? Like, what is the appeal from an electoral standpoint for Tim Walz? Obviously, progressives, I'm super excited to see, what he brings to the table. But why would the vice president choose him looking at like the electoral stakes?
Yeah, I think that it's sort of it's her decision to lean into what has been working for her campaign so far, which is a ton of energy and momentum, because she has like a shorter runway than most presidential candidates have had in recent history. she knows that she needs to capitalize on this massive wave of enthusiasm that has arisen around her candidacy. And Walz does seem like the one who's better positioned electorally to deliver that. Very clearly, the alternative pick that was in close consideration was Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, whom I am a big fan of. But there was already definite liabilities there because some of the things that he had, like his most controversial takes on, were the things that are dividing the Democratic Party the most, like Israel and Gaza. And so by picking him, she would have been injecting that further into the conversation, as like every time at every event that was going to be a question that he was asked, right? Of like, there was this article back from when he was 20, there's like controversial things that he said while he was governor. And so again, Walz does not have the same baggage, so to speak, and we can keep the conversation laser focused on the issues that are going to be most advantageous for Vice President Harris, including reproductive rights, including public education. He's a former school teacher, as we said, and gun legislation as well. They passed extreme risk protection orders in Minnesota under his tenure. So again, we're refocusing all of these things back onto the topics that Vice President Harris wants to make this election about.
Amazing. He also has a backing of a progressive warrior, Senator Bernie Sanders, and UAW President Sean Fain. He said that he either wanted Bashir, you're out, or Walz. So that's a huge, having labor on your side is huge.
I guess I would just add, I think that for people who are cynical or tired of the political games, this is a break from that. Because if you just looked at this like a math equation, or this was the West Wing or House of Cards, you would have picked Josh Shapiro. You would have picked Governor Shapiro because he's the governor of Pennsylvania. He's very popular, and like that had the right math, pulls in the right electorate in this theoretical way. If you look at people again like robots or like an equation,
right?
This feels more like a heart pick of like, this is what we believe in, and we're going to lean into it because it's a better fit between her and him. And people, I really hope, will see that and let it break through the cynicism that they're not trying to like hack you like a computer program. They're trying to like build this ticket of what are the values and changes that we want to see in the country, and how can we build the strongest team to accomplish those.
Yeah. Something we talked about the other week was with President Biden stepping aside from this campaign. Sammy Sage, the bench of Democrats, it just felt like it fully opened up. And I would wager that the majority of Democrats did not know much about Tim Walz 6 weeks ago. Cut to your point, he's now the vice presidential candidate. And that is an amazing thing to see. To see. And something else that I don't know if it's going to happen, but will be an amazing thing to see. If anyone has watched, to your point, him being a cable news warrior, Tim Walz does not come to play. He brings the receipts. He has a POV. He's a straight shooter. He speaks like you and I do. He's not using like legalese or all of these big political phrases and yada, yada, yada. He is getting you. And you know who he's going to get? JD Vance.
100%. He's also the originator of the weird branding for Vance and Trump. He is the first one that went on TV to be like, these dudes are fucking weird.
Right.
They're just weird.
So you've gotten some attention this week for calling Trump and Vance and Republicans in general weird. Why do you think weird is a more effective attack line against Trump than what Democrats have been done previously, which is argue that he's an existential threat to democracy?
Yeah, and it's an observation on this, and I, being a school teacher, I see a lot of things. But my point on this is people kept talking about, look, Donald Trump is going to put women's lives at risk. That's 100% true. Donald Trump is potentially going to end constitutional liberties that we have, end voting. I do believe all those things are a real possibility, but it gives him way too much power. Listen to the guy. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter and shocking sharks and just whatever crazy thing pops into his mind. And I thought we just give him way too much credit. And I think one of the things is when you just ratchet down some of the the scariness or whatever and just name it what it is.
And it's
And so that
because it's true.
So let that be an indicator of his comms mastermind. And I hope that we get to see more of that as he like evolves the messaging over time. We know that the internet can't sit on one thing any too long or for very long at all. But if that's any indication of what we have coming, like we're in for a treat. Pop the popcorn and buckle up.
Buckle up.
Well, if there's one person who's having the comms week from hell, it is Donald Trump. Absolutely mind-boggling, the decision that he had. I think out of hubris. I think that he's been drinking his own Kool-Aid, that he's performing better with the Black community and Black voters than he did in 2020.
Right.
And he decided to show up in front of the National Association of Black Journalists. It was a very controversial decision for them to host him. And there's like a whole drama there that we can get into. But let me tell you, it did not go well for him. Oh my Lord. I think he regrets that decision now.
Bad. It was deeply uncomfortable.
Where do we even start? Which thing do you want to start with?
The thing that stuck with me was like his initial defense to the very legitimate question and then just calling the reporter mean.
A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network.
It was so deeply uncomfortable for everyone and just showed his true character so clearly.
Yeah, I think that it kind of was a masterclass in how to hold a candidate's feet to the fire, where they really had receipts and they were like, you're not just going to rant misinformation here.
Right.
Like that's not how this is going to go. And so they really like listed all of the various things that he has said and done that are openly either racist or damaging to other like Black leaders, people of color.
Yeah.
And he really doubled down.
It was so bizarre. It was like, just pull out the cloak, Donald. Pull out the cloak.
He basically said, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And then I think the sort of crowning jewel for this shit show interview was him claiming that Kamala Harris turned Black, I'm using air quotes, when it was politically convenient for her, questioning her mixed race identity as both someone who is Indian and who is Black.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn.
That's not going to go over well with voters, as we saw on the internet immediately.
It definitely gave me like Obama birtherism, like let's see your birth certificate energy, and it was just like, we're here again. We're literally here again.
Okay, so yes, this is definitely giving birther, and also apparently, I just found this out, apparently Trump literally tried to start a birther conspiracy about Vice President Harris as well in 2020. Did you know this?
No, I didn't know this.
In 2020, Trump said he'd, quote, heard Harris wasn't born in the United States and thus doesn't meet the requirements to be vice president. She was born in Oakland.
Right.
So he also tried to pull the same shit on her, which, what do Kamala Harris and Barack Obama have in common? Yeah, from start to finish, the whole thing was just extremely horrific, deeply offensive and disrespectful. And ultimately, Trump had to be pulled off stage early because he could not handle the heat and continued to dig himself into a deeper and deeper hole with
deeper and deeper racist hole.
Right. Exactly. With a key constituency that could decide the election in a lot of these swing states.
Yeah. I was almost grateful for the internet moving so quickly in that moment, because it's so deeply disturbing to know that that man was the president of the United States of America and he is so deeply racist. And then the internet just went for it and just dragged him and, made humor out of it. And there was some good memes that came out of it, but it was definitely worth highlighting, because that is who Donald Trump is, who he is. You have to believe him. He is a racist man.
For me, it did raise this interesting question that I don't think there's any right answer to necessarily, but a lot of people were boycotting the NABJ for hosting him. And then obviously, as you're saying, it did create this moment where he really showed us who he is in maybe the most visceral way since 2016, I would suggest. And in some ways, that's a good thing, right? Like giving someone the platform to out themselves as a racist is like a helpful thing for voters when they're going to the ballot box to make a decision. And so where do you fall on this question of, do you not host him because he's a known racist and he's already said so many offensive things and he's likely to again, which he did.
Yeah.
Or do you host him to give him the platform to say the quiet part out loud?
Yeah, I think for this instance, it took a lot of courage and bravery for the NABJ to hold his feet to the fire. That couldn't have been easy to hear that. And I think the point was proven. They don't need to do it again, that's for sure. And now we do have this receipt that you can't deny.
Add it to the stack.
Literally, the stack of papers in his Mar-a-Lago bathroom that he stole from the government.
We're ready to do our taxes because we have boxes of receipts.
So, Brian, quickly I want to talk about two people that are on my arch nemesis mood board. Let's call it. We're going to start with Elon Musk. I think you told me this 3 or 4 weeks ago, that Elon Musk had made the announcement that he was going to, through a PAC that he is a co-founder of, American PAC, contribute $45 million per month to Donald Trump through the election. Right?
That's correct. And then he walked that statement
He walked it back. Because I did a TikTok video on it and I was just like, Elon, this is all, it's all connected. It's all connected, which we saw, because then at a rally in Atlanta over the weekend, what did Donald Trump say about electric cars?
And I'm for electric cars. I have to be, because Elon endorsed me very strongly, Elon. So I have no choice.
So let's be clear. Donald Trump's entire policy platform is for sale. For the low price of $100 million, you can get Trump to support any policy you want.
Right.
He will flip-flop. He will have contradicting policy positions. He will say and do literally whatever you require as long as you pump 9 figures or more into his candidacy.
Lest we forget with the oil people. And that closed door meeting, which was 3 months ago, we talked about, he had a closed door meeting with big oil execs and said, for the truly small dollar price to oil execs, $1 billion, I'll give you what you want. It's truly mind-blowing. Truly mind-blowing.
And let's be clear, just to really put a point on it, in case you think that maybe coincidentally he just has the same policy positions as these people. He promised the oil execs that he would work against electric vehicle adoption in the United States. And now he is promising Elon Musk that he will support electric vehicle adoption in the United States so that he can sell more Teslas. And so literally directly opposing views. There's zero substance, zero interest in what is best for the American people, just willing to do or say whatever it takes to get the cash from the ultra rich that he needs. So not only is Elon playing a role in this election with his money, but he's also doing it illegally, apparently.
So now he's being this PAC that Elon said he was going to give $45 million to Trump through, and then backtracked it, said, I never said that, even though there's plenty of receipts saying he said it. Don't gaslight me, Elon. And now is being investigated by the Michigan Secretary of State.
Correct. So what the PAC is reportedly doing is encouraging people to register to vote. And then on their website, as you fill out the information, they collect your zip code, your name, stuff like the contact information. And then what is apparently happening is that based on that information, they're filtering people as to who should continue on to the voter registration process and who just sort of gets dumped off of the thing.
It's sus. It's not by the book, apparently. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to get sued. I don't have the time for that. It's just not right.
Yeah. So thank God we won the race for Michigan Secretary of State back in 2022. Jocelyn Benson, what's up? And this PAC is now being investigated. And
Good.
their shady ass
Get 'em.
tactics are hopefully going to get shut down if that's what's going on. Well, tell us about what your other least favorite human has been up to.
Clarence Thomas. Did you see this news alert over the weekend?
Oh, you bet I did.
So Clarence Thomas and Ginny was involved. Ginny, Fire
Okay.
Fingers, January 6th. Ginny.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Where there's smoke, there's Ginny Thomas. I think she's the brains of the operation, truly. So he has yet again failed to publicly disclose a major, major gift.
Another.
Not it's not the RV, it's not like the time at the lodge. This was private travel provided by Harlan Crow, who's a conservative mastermind superpower, flew him and Ginny to like New Zealand. Like very long haul flight. This is an expensive flight if you're flying row 54F on Qantas, you know? Clarence Thomas is a lot of fuel, it's a lot of crew. He flew private.
This comes after he's already had to issue multiple addendums and amendments and apologies for all of the other things he has failed to disclose. And this time, I think it's coming from Democratic U.S. senators who discovered that this trip happened.
Yeah, Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, he found the receipts. The receipt from 2010, mind you. So a long time ago, that they had a round trip private flight to Hawaii and New Zealand on this guy's jet. And you, just like as a reminder, by law, which a Supreme Court justice should understand, 101, justices are required to fill out a financial disclosure form every year, including, there's like a bunch of things they have to include, any sources of income and gifts. 2010 financial disclosure for Clarence Thomas, what is it missing? This extremely expensive flight provided by a conservative superpower man.
Of course. What I would really like to see, I had this thought after I got the push notification over the weekend. I think that we should do a game show a la The Price is Right. Do it with like just Democratic voters, volunteers, donors, something. And all of the prizes are things that Justice Clarence Thomas has received from billionaires over the last 2 decades.
I love it.
And so somebody wins the flights, somebody wins an RV, somebody wins a golf trip, somebody wins tuition for their kids to go to private school, somebody wins their parents' mortgage getting paid off. I think that would be so fun and educate.
Brian, you didn't just make those things up. All of those things happened. Clarence Thomas has accepted all of those things.
And more. And more. It's giving the boss.
Yeah. Donald Trump had like a moment. He kind of fumbled his words around the boss. Let's see.
Well, Hillary used to do that too. I remember she got Bruce Springsteen. I'm not a huge fan. I have a bad trait. I only like people that like me. Yeah? Does that make sense?
It's giving Veep more than ever before. The signs in the background for our audio listeners, Trump is at a rally and behind him, they're all holding up signs that in very light lettering that is not readable, it says Kamala, but in huge bold letters, it says, "You're fired."
Yeah, it's giving low budget. It's giving one, he desperately wants Bruce Springsteen to like him. Like, no one doesn't want Bruce Springsteen to like them. Like, that's like, he's an American treasure. He is like Americana, at least for me.
Definitely for the state of New Jersey. That's for sure.
For sure. But this is actually a double it's giving, because that went viral, the background from that rally of the one guy holding up the "You're fired" sign. Because what happens at these rallies is they often, I don't know for sure, but they like self-select or hire the people to be behind you.
100%. They're handpicked. They're handpicked, yeah.
Handpicked, and there were some rogue Democrats in that frame. It's so funny.
They have "you're fired" signs, and they kept holding it up to say, like, at Trump
Over
and
it, you're
at Vance,
fired.
"You're fired." And
I
it
know.
was so good. It was just such a self-own.
Self-own.
On the flip side, we actually had Chris Murphy on Fox News speaking truth to power, so to speak, on Harris.
You told the Washington Examiner this week Kamala Harris was given a job to reduce migration from Central America, and she did it incredibly well, stunningly well. But the numbers do show a different picture there. 4.31 million migrants from these countries, specifically, crossed into the U.S. since 2021. It is up 140% from Trump's term, 34% from the Obama years. How is that stunningly well?
So I'm squinting to read your figures, but the figures I have seen show that from the three Northern Triangle countries that Kamala Harris was put in charge of stemming migration from, migration has dropped by 50 to 60% from those countries. What has increased
over the course of the term because it started so high.
Well, it started so high in part because of a series of crises that unfolded during the Trump administration. What drove the increase in migration was in part huge increased travel from a country like Venezuela, which was plunged into economic crisis because of Donald Trump's policies. Kamala Harris was given an important but discreet task. She was able to dramatically reduce migration from those countries. And again, apples to apples, crossings at the southwest border are lower today than they were at the end of the Trump administration.
Receipts.
Details. Like, the devil's in the details. And I love a good apples to apples comparison. I really do.
It's a fun game too.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. Yeah, I think that the vibes around immigration have strayed so far from the numbers and the data that you can sort of claim anything you want and people will just like buy it. There's like 40 million flying purple people eaters entering the country from the southern border weekly, according to Fox News. And people are just like, spoon feed me more.
Right.
Like,
crime, blame the other. That's like the repeat track.
Yeah, I think that getting the real information out about what VP Harris's role is and was on immigration, aka not the borders are, is really important over the coming months for some segment of voters.
Group chat. My friends and I, this should come as a shock to absolutely no one. We are Olympic heads. My friend every night before sends a spreadsheet of all the must watch or like have on events. There's just been some amazing Olympic moments. Simone Biles. I don't want to like give any spoilers.
Okay, it's not spoilers. There's push notifications and everyone is watching the Olympics in real time. So give us a top three.
Well, yesterday this was an amazing moment. There's 3 Olympic gymnasts that were competing in the floor and the beam that were in contention. I mean, Simone was supposed to, whatever that means, the pressure of win both, but
she had never medaled in beam,
right? Because in 2020 or 2021, because of the COVID delay, mental health matters. Okay. And she had to step out because she got the twisties, which is a very, very dangerous symptom in gymnastics where you could literally die. You lose sense of your body. Anyway.
I have that all the time when doing cartwheels.
When you're doing a round off in Chelsea. Basically, we got silver and bronze, and it was a beautiful moment in sport where the 2 Americans, Simone and Jordan, elevated the Brazilian gymnast. And it was just like, you watch the Olympics and you're like, can we solve world peace? Can we just do it? There was a really amazing pole vaulting yesterday. He's a Swedish American. He was born in America, and
okay, I did watch this. I did see it.
You saw the pole vaulting where he got the world record?
Yes, that traitor.
Oh, yeah, literally. He's American born and raised. He grew up in Louisiana. And I looked it up because I was really pissed because I wanted that gold. I wanted that world record. And Sweden got it. But it's
outrageous.
It's because at 15, when he had to choose, was he going to run U.S. track and field or go to Sweden? His mom is from Sweden. His dad is from America. I almost think he chose to go to Sweden, but I also think maybe he wasn't good enough at the time. The American system is so competitive. We have all these states, all these people. But the Olympics, that's really it. Like, I don't have anything else to tell you except for the Olympics and watching the Olympics. The one thing I will say, and I will ask Vibes Only listeners to watch because I really hope it happens. You know how Tom Cruise does all of his own stunts, like famously?
Stunt queen. Yeah, stunt queen.
Yeah. Apparently, he's because LA is hosting the next Summer Olympics in 4 years. Tom Cruise is going to close these Olympics by doing a live stunt. Like, come on, that is so camp. Like, what?
In Paris.
In Paris. And it's going to be like, he's going to do a live stunt to be like, see you in LA in 4 years. And that is, that I'm going to be like on Olympic steroids, like American culture, Olympics. Anyway, if anyone is into the Olympics, you can always DM me, like I say. I'm happy to chat.
Yeah, my group chat also was popping off about how much each of the countries pay their athletes for winning gold.
Oh, I don't even look at that. Give me some information.
It's pretty interesting. Hong Kong, you can win $800,000 for winning a gold.
Well, they're rich. They're a rich country.
Versus Australia, also considered a rich country, you win $13,000 for a gold medal.
Well, actually, I was watching I guess it was pole vaulting, or maybe it was high jump for men. There's a guy from the Philippines who apparently they've bought him houses, and he has a massive allowance just because he's like a very good athlete.
Flex on them.
What about America? What do we do here in capitalist society?
According to this chart that is from Axios, a gold, guess. What do you think a gold will get you?
25,000?
38,000.
38. But that's pre-tax. That's pre-tax.
Silver's 23,000 and bronze is 15.
I was listening on NPR to hear how much the medals themselves are actually worth, and it's like the gold medal is worth like $1,200, the silver is worth like $800, and the bronze is worth like $20.
I will say RFK Jr. made the group chat, and it's because his entire campaign is like a kindergartner typing prompts into ChatGPT. And then you just never know what you're going to get. It's the Mad Libs of politics. It's absolutely absurd. Can't script it.
Totally agree.
Most recently involves a bear cub, a bicycle, Central Park, and the NYPD. Yeah. So go scope it out.
Yeah, you can look that one up. I'm not willing to talk about that. But you're absolutely right, Brian. It's like someone is plugging in what are the most bizarre, unhinged things that we can have a presidential candidate do.
Period.
So we have a new call to action for Vibes Only listeners because I want to expand the voice note community, because anyone who knows me knows, you especially because you don't listen, that I am a voice memo monster. I'm not texting you. I am voice memoing you because I have things to say and I don't, my fingers are tired. So
I love your voice memos. I just am often at the office when we're texting. I'm like on Zoom or something, and I like can't play it at the time, and then I forget, and then it's buried, and then
you have like a podcast from me and only me. But Vibes Only listeners, please send us your voice messages, your voicemails, whatever you want to call them, to vibes@couriernewsroom.com. Let us know what you think about the Walz choice. I really want to know. Even one little soundbite. One little soundbite. That's all we need. Your favorite Walz moment, or like whatever else. Whatever's on your mind, email us.
Let's hear it. I'll listen to all of them.
So will I. Well, I definitely will. Brian will eventually. Time for a good vibe goodbye, Brian. And this is an exciting one. So we talked about all the Zoom calls last week, which was like catalyzed by Black women coming together for Kamala Harris and dovetailed into white women, white dudes, some other people. And now we have Republicans for Harris.
Boom.
Republicans for Harris includes a bunch of endorsements. 25 Republicans have endorsed Kamala Harris.
Like people who are in Congress, former elected officials, governors, all kinds of like really high profile Republicans.
Kinzinger, someone who I think I had beef with. He didn't know it, but I had beef with him. Personally endorsed her. He said, as a proud conservative, I never thought I'd be endorsing a Democrat for president. But I know Vice President Harris will defend our democracy and ensure Donald Trump never returns to the White House. Donald Trump poses a direct threat to fundamental American values. He only cares about himself and his pursuit of power. Period.
Add these to about half of Trump's former cabinet who are either actively opposing him or refusing to endorse his candidacy. And those are the people who worked most closely with him during his time in the White House, who were responsible and saw the ins and outs of his agenda and how he operated as president, and clearly don't want him anywhere near the Oval Office again.
I mean, the bottom line is that now Kamala Harris's campaign is going to benefit from cross-party support. It's going to increase leads in swing states. It's going to garner more support for swing voters or undecided voters. And we just know that's not going to be happening for Donald Trump.
The last bipartisan act of the Biden-Harris administration,
Truly.
electing Kamala Harris.
I love it. It's a good vibe.